Whatever happened at St. Mary's side today? Sports scores, scholars board, FCCLA. Every time you watch, there's some news for you to hold on to. Every time you watch, there's a face of somebody who knows you. Every time you watch, when you're in third out and feel all alone, best broadcasting is waiting to carry you home. Every time you watch, every time you watch,
And welcome to Bears Broadcast. I am Halo is better than Call of Duty.
And I am PUBG is better than Fortnite. Here with the 138th announcements of this school year. High school band and choir bus leaves tomorrow morning at 7:20 sharp.
Students who are taking the ACT on April 24th, please be checking your email.
Students who are interested in playing sports next year, the St. Mary's Health Clinic is providing free physicals on Wednesday, May 2nd.
FFA Kitty Barnyard is next Wednesday.
Now over to sports.
You got it?
Yeah, sure. Girls basketball meeting April 18th.
There will also be a boys golf meet today at Horton.
The JV baseball and softball teams will be taking on Ruck Creek on, what was that?
Today.
On today. Nice wording there, fellas.
Softball lost their first game 3-13 and lost their second game 10-12.
Darn. Baseball lost their first game as well as their second.
Now, Mrs. Napier was at her finest when she discussed National Library Week with Jeff the other day. Let's hear some more about it.
Let's.
Well, thanks, guys. We're here today with Mrs. Napier. She's joining us to discuss National Library Week, which has been this past week. It's been a lot of fun. Mrs. Napier, I'm wondering, you're here most of the day, so I'm just curious, what a typical day in the library when all the students aren't buzzing around, what does it normally consist of?
Well, that's a good question, but there is no such thing as a typical day. Every single day is different, and that's part of why I love this job, because it's never boring. There's always something to do. But typically on any given day, I'll be helping kids get their Chromebook issues taken care of. Sometimes I'm working on writing an AR test for someone, or doing a syllable and word count to see how much a book is going to be worth that somebody wants to use for AR points.
So I actually wanted to ask you about that too, because you were discussing AR. I've only been in this school for about 8 months now, and what I'm used to before, I was never exposed to any sort of an AR program. How long has the school been doing the program? That was my first question. Then to follow up, I wanted to ask, what is so important? What's the big deal with the AR program? Why is it necessary?
That's a really good question, and honestly, it boils down to why is reading important, and I could talk about that for an hour or more, but I'll try to make it short. We know that reading is important for our students, and so we use the AR program not exactly as it's designed, but more just a way to monitor that our kids are reading independently. And the thing is, reading is really important. It's an exercise for your brain, and and reading is a skill, just like any other skill. You have to practice it if it's skateboarding or basketball or whatever, riding a bike. This is our way to make sure that our kids do keep reading. Readers are smarter, there's no question about that. Statistics will show that people who read have more general knowledge, more knowledge about the world around them, more empathy. So there are tons of good reasons that kids should be reading, expanding your knowledge, expanding your vocabulary. We could beef up the language arts program and add way more reading in there, but it would be books that the teacher chose, and we've talked about it. We think it's really helpful for our kids to be able to choose what they want to read.
It's incredibly important to read
to keep reading
regularly.
Yeah.
And that answer sounded like an answer coming from a very seasoned reader. So I'm curious, there are plenty of books in this library. How many of them would you say that you've read?
From this library, probably 400 or 500 over the time I've been here. I like to read young adult literature. That's part of what drew me to being a school librarian. But I also expand that and read books from the public library or my own personal library that wouldn't be in here.
So what would you say your favorite genre is?
Genres are hard for me because I like all kinds. I love historical fiction and I like realistic fiction, but recently, since I've been here, I have grown also to have an appreciation for fantasy that I never had before. So I kind of read a variety of things. Legal dramas are top for me, I guess.
Yeah. Well, Mrs. Napier, we're pressed for time, but it's an absolute pleasure to have you on Bears Broadcast, and you're welcome back anytime.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Happy National Library Week.
Thank you.
Back to you guys.
You betcha. The main lunch today is chili.
And the alternate is chicken nuggets.
Well, that's all we have for today. So until next time, I'm Big Dave.
And I'm Pete.
And you stay out of Fortnite server, St. Mary's.